Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to read a story called Apples. The text, which is the words, and pictures are by Ken Robbins. This is a non-fiction book. That means that everything in this book is true. So instead of just a fun story, it can teach us about apples. So we'll open the cover page. It says apples. Turn. There's the title page with the title Apples, and it says Ken Robbins, who wrote the book. Turn. An apple is a wonderful thing, a perfect handful of portable food wrapped in a package of its very own skin. Apples, of course, are a kind of fruit. They are round and shiny, delicious and sweet, crisp to the bite, and they grow on trees. People have been growing them for thousands of years. Scoot over. Apples can be red or yellow, or they can be green. Sometimes they can be all three. My favorite kind of apples are the green ones. They're a little bit sour. Turn. You can grow apple trees from apple seeds. They're in the middle of the apple. But you never know what kind of apples will grow. That's why in most orchards, the apple trees aren't ever grown from seeds. Orchards are farms where they grow trees that grow fruit. Scoot over. Instead, a branch from a tree that makes a particular kind of apple is joined or grafted onto the trunk of a small tree that already has roots. The two grow together when they're planted in the ground, and the result is a tree that produces the same kind of apple year after year. So even if we plant a seed from a green apple, it could grow a tree that makes red apples. So they do it differently so they can get the certain kind of apples that they want. Turn. In 10 years, the planted tree is big enough and ready to grow fruit. The growing season starts with pruning the trees, which is cutting away dead branches. There's a picture of a man pruning an apple tree. He's cutting off any of the dead branches so it will grow stronger. Turn. There's a picture of some apple trees blossoming. In the spring, the trees in the apple orchard burst into bloom. Some have pink flowers and some have white. Soon, the orchardist sets out hives of bees in the orchard. Some keep bees themselves. Others pay a beekeeper to bring them to the orchard when they are needed. So an orchardist is the farmer who grows the apple trees. And these are the beehives where beekeepers keep bees. Turn. Oh, there's a picture of a bee on the apple blossom on the tree. The nectar in the flower attracts the bees. The bees are brushed with pollen when they buzz around the blossom, and they spread it to the next flower that they visit. That way, the flowers are fertilized, and inside the flower, the seeds are produced. So the bees take pollen from each flower and fertilize the seeds. Turn. The petals fall off the flower, and what's left, the ovary, then starts to swell. That's the beginning of an apple to be, and inside it are tiny seeds. If they were ever planted one day, they would make new trees. So inside of there. Oh, there's a bigger picture. That's the beginning of a baby apple. Turn. There's a bunch of bright red apples. It takes 10 to 20 weeks for the apples to reach full size and ripen. By August, when school starts, the limbs of the trees are chock full of fruit. Look at all those apples on that tree. Turn. Here's a picture. The orchardist is picking apples. Eventually, it's harvest time. Time to pick the apples before they fall to the ground and spoil. Turn. There's a boy picking apples. At some orchards, you can pick your own. That would be fun, to go to an orchard and pick your very own apples right off the tree. Turn. Some apples will be squeezed in presses for apple juice and apple cider. This apple press is nearly 100 years old. This big machine here presses the apples to squeeze out all the juices. There's a picture of apple juice and apple cider. Turn. Some apples will be peeled and sliced and sugared and spiced and baked into a pie. There's an apple pie, all done. Turn. Oh, they're cooking apples. Some are fated to be cored and quartered and tossed into a pot to make applesauce. So they cut up the apples, they take out the core from the middle with all the seeds, and they cook them up and make applesauce. And some will just be taken in the hand, perhaps rubbed on a shirt front for polish, and with a wonderful crisp and crunchy sound, munched all around and swallowed down. She's just eating her apple. Turn. This page just tells us more about apples. We'll wait to read this. Turn. Apples come in many different kinds. Here are just a few of people's favorites. See if you can tell which one is mine. See if we can tell which one is the author's favorite. There's a Braeburn apple, Cameo apples, Cortland apples, Fuji apples, Golden Delicious, Granny Smith, Macintosh, Red Delicious, and Gala. I bet, since the Gala apple is the one that's all eaten up, that is probably the author's favorite one. I like Granny Smith apples because they're kind of sour and really juicy. Okay. Close the book. We have a picture of apples on the back. Now I want to tell you, I said this is a non-fiction book. When we look through it, we don't see drawings or illustrations. We see real photographs. The author used that to help us see what really happens at the apple orchard. So a lot of times in non-fiction books, instead of illustrations, there might be real photographs. I hope you learned a lot about apples. That's the end.